Commander Jake Morrison watched the enemy ships destroy everything around Earth. His hands shook as he held the command chair on the bridge of the UES Defiance. 3 days ago, the alien fleet had come from deep space without any warning. Now, they were winning the war against humanity. The aliens called themselves Zephyrians. Their ships were huge and black, shaped like giant spears pointed at Earth. Each one was 3 times bigger than the largest human warship. Their weapons fired red energy beams that could cut through metal like a hot knife through butter. When they hit a human ship, it simply vanished in a bright flash of light. Lieutenant Amy Parker sat at her station, reading the numbers on her screen. She looked up at Jake with tears in her eyes. "Sir, we lost Luna Base 2 hours ago. Mars Colony stopped sending signals this morning. We started with 57 ships in our defense fleet. Now we only have 12 left." Jake nodded slowly. He had served in space for 20 years, but nothing had prepared him for this. The Zephyrians fought like machines. They never made mistakes. They never hesitated. They just kept coming, destroying everything in their path with cold efficiency. Captain Lisa Brooks commanded the destroyer UES Horizon. Her ship was badly damaged, with fires burning on 3 decks. She sent a message to all remaining human vessels. "This is Captain Brooks. My ship is going down, but I want everyone to remember something. Remember who we are. Remember what we are fighting for. We are humans, and we never give up." Her ship exploded a few seconds later when a Zephyrian plasma beam hit the engine room. Jake watched the bright flash fade away and felt anger burn in his chest. Lisa had been his friend for 15 years. She had 3 children waiting for her back on Earth. The largest Zephyrian ship moved closer to Earth. It was bigger than a city, with thousands of weapons pointing down at the planet. Jake knew what would happen next. The aliens would start, destroying Earth's cities one by one. Billions of people would die, and there was nothing the remaining human ships could do to stop it. "All ships, this is Commander Morrison," Jake said into his communications device. "We are going to make our final attack. I know our chances are small, but we have to try. Every minute we keep them busy is another minute for people on Earth." To reach the underground shelters, the human ships began moving toward the alien fleet. Jake knew it was suicide, but he also knew it was the right thing to do. Humans had always been fighters. Even when they could not win, they still fought. The UES Valiant moved alongside the Defiance. Captain Steve Williams appeared on Jake's screen. "It has been an honor serving with you, Jake. See you on the other side." Other ship captains said similar things. They all knew they were about to die, but none of them suggested running away. That was not the human way. As the 12 human ships charged toward the massive alien fleet, something strange happened. The space near the moon began to shimmer like heat waves on a hot day. Every sensor on every ship started showing readings. That made no sense. "Sir," Amy called out, "I am getting some kind of energy signature. It is not human technology, and it is not Zephyrian either. The readings are off the scale." Jake looked at his own screen and saw numbers that should have been impossible. Whatever was happening near the moon was generating more energy than Earth's sun. The shimmer in space grew brighter and began to take shape. The Zephyrian fleet stopped moving toward Earth. Their ships turned to face whatever was appearing near the moon. For the first time since the battle began, the aliens seemed uncertain. Lieutenant Commander Alex Turner worked at the engineering station. He had been an asteroid miner before joining the military. "Commander, I have never seen anything like this. The energy patterns are completely unknown. Whatever is coming, it is big." The shimmer in space suddenly disappeared, and something impossible took its place. A ship materialized where empty space had been just seconds before. But calling it a ship was like calling the ocean a puddle. The vessel was enormous, easily 3 times the size of the largest Zephyrian mothership. Its hull seemed to flow like liquid metal, with curves and patterns that looked more grown than built. Strange lights moved along its surface in patterns that hurt to look at directly. Jake stared at the massive ship and felt his understanding of the universe change forever. Humanity was not alone, and they were not the most advanced species. In the galaxy, someone else had been watching the battle for Earth, and now they had decided to reveal themselves. The alien ship hung in space like a sleeping giant, beautiful and terrifying at the same time. Jake wondered if humanity had just been saved, or if they had simply found a new way to die. The massive ship hung in space like a dream made real. Admiral Kevin Hayes watched from the command center buried deep under the moon's surface. He had commanded Earth's defenses for 10 years, but nothing in his training had prepared him for this moment. "Try to make contact," he ordered his communications officer. "Use every frequency we have." Before anyone could respond, something incredible happened. A voice spoke inside the minds of every human in the solar system. It was not heard through ears, but felt directly in their thoughts. The voice was warm and ancient, like a grandmother telling stories by a fireplace. "Greetings, children of Earth. We are the architects, and we have been watching your species for a very long time." Jake Morrison felt his legs go weak. He sat down hard in his command chair, his mind struggling to understand what was happening. Around him, his crew looked equally stunned. Amy Parker dropped her tablet, and it clattered to the floor in the sudden silence. The voice continued, patient and kind. "I am Keeper Zara, and I speak for my people. Do not be afraid. We come as observers, not as conquerors." On Earth, Dr. Ben Carter was in his laboratory when the voice reached him. He was humanity's leading expert on alien life, though until 3 days ago, he had only studied theories. Now he was living in a universe where 2 different alien species had appeared in the same week. "The Zephyrians represent a path your species might have taken," Keeper Zara's voice explained. "They chose conquest over cooperation, fear over understanding. We have watched them destroy 17 worlds and enslave countless others." Dr. Carter grabbed his notebook and started writing as fast as he could. This was the most important first, contact in human history, and every word needed to be recorded. "You speak of watching," Admiral Hayes said aloud, hoping the aliens could hear him. "How long have you been observing us?" "Since your species first looked up at the stars and wondered if you were alone," came the reply. "We have seen your wars and your peace, your cruelty and your kindness. We have watched you struggle to become more than what you were." Captain Steve Williams was still on the bridge of the UES Valiant when the conversation began. His ship was damaged, but still fighting. "Why reveal yourselves now?" he asked. "Because you have reached a critical moment in your development," Keeper Zara answered. "Not in your technology, but in your spirit. The Zephyrians were not sent by us, but their arrival serves as a test nonetheless." Jake Morrison found his voice. "A test of what?" "Of whether humanity deserves to join the greater community of intelligent life in this galaxy. We call it the Galactic Collective, and it includes over 200 peaceful species. Each one had to prove their worth before being accepted. The implications hit everyone at the same time. Humanity was not alone, and they were not unique. Somewhere among the stars, hundreds of alien civilizations lived and worked together in peace. Dr. Helen Ross was Earth's best physicist. She was in her laboratory when she heard the aliens speak. "How do we prove our worth?" she asked. "By showing that you can overcome this challenge through your own strength and wisdom," Keeper Zara replied. "The collective does not accept species that must be saved by others. You must save yourselves." Lieutenant Colonel Emma Davis commanded the ground forces defending Earth's major cities. She was a tough soldier who had fought in 3 wars, but this conversation made her feel like a child. "You could destroy the Zephyrians easily, couldn't you?" "Yes, child. Our technology is thousands of years beyond theirs. But if we fight your battles for you, you will never truly be free. You will always be dependent on others for your survival." The massive architect ship began to move slowly toward the Zephyrian fleet. As it approached, the alien invaders opened fire with every weapon they had. Red energy beams that could destroy mountains struck the architect vessel and simply vanished, absorbed by its hull without leaving a mark. War leader Crox commanded the Zephyrian fleet from his flagship. He had conquered 17 star systems and never known defeat. But as his most powerful weapons proved useless against the unknown ship, he felt fear for the first time in his adult life. "The Zephyrians are learning what we learned long ago," Keeper Zara's voice continued in human minds. "There is always someone stronger, someone more advanced. The wise learn humility from this knowledge. The foolish learn only anger." Captain Pete Johnson piloted the frigate UES Relentless. His ship was small but fast, and he had used its speed to stay alive when bigger ships had been destroyed. "What happens if we fail your test?" The pause before Keeper Zara answered seemed to last forever. "Then humanity joins the long list of species that could not rise above their limitations. We will mourn your passing, but we will not interfere." Dr. Carter felt his heart sink. The aliens were offering humanity a chance to join a galactic community, but only if they could prove themselves worthy. It was like being invited to join the most exclusive club in the universe, but the entrance exam might kill them. "We understand," Admiral Hayes said finally. "We will not ask you to fight our battles for us." "You honor us with your courage," Keeper Zara replied. "We will provide guidance when asked, but the victory must be yours alone. Choose your path wisely, children of Earth. The galaxy is watching." War leader Crox stared at the unknown ship through the viewing window of his flagship. In 20 years of conquest, he had never seen technology like this. His weapons, which could crack planets, had no effect on the strange vessel. For the first time in his military career, he faced an enemy more powerful than himself. The Zephyrian leader was 7 feet tall with gray skin and 4 arms. Scars covered his body from battles on a dozen worlds. He had risen to command through strength and cunning, destroying anyone who challenged him. But now he felt something he had not experienced since childhood: helplessness. "War leader," his tactical officer reported, "our weapons have no effect on the unknown vessel. Its hull appears to absorb all energy directed at it." Crox's 4, hands clenched into fists. "Continue firing. There must be a weakness." But even as he gave the order, he knew it was useless. Whatever species had built that ship was far beyond Zephyrian technology. They had appeared without warning, their vessel emerging from some kind of cloaking system that his best scientists could not detect. On the human ships, commanders faced their own difficult choice. Jake Morrison called an emergency meeting of all surviving ship captains. Their images appeared on screens throughout the small fleet. "You all heard what the architects said," Jake began. "They could destroy the Zephyrians for us, but doing so would prove that humanity cannot defend itself. We would fail their test." Captain Steve Williams spoke first. "My ship is badly damaged, but my crew is ready to fight. We did not come this far to have someone else finish our battle." Lieutenant Colonel Emma Davis joined the conversation from Earth's surface. "The ground forces agree. We have been fighting the Zephyrian landing parties for 3 days. We will not stop now." But not everyone agreed. Captain Roger Brown commanded the cruiser UES Thunder. His ship had lost half its crew, and he could see the fear in his surviving officers' faces. "We are talking about suicide. The Zephyrians still outnumber us 10-1. If the architects can end this war, why should we refuse their help?" Dr. Ben Carter had been listening to the debate from his laboratory. "Because accepting their help would make us children forever," he said. "The architects are offering us membership in a galactic community, but only if we can stand on our own feet." Engineer Ryan Foster had been working on new battle plans while The others talked. He was young and had joined the military only 2 years ago, but his mind worked differently than the career officers. "What if we are looking at this wrong?" he asked. "The architects said they would provide guidance. Maybe we can ask for advice without asking them to fight for us." Jake Morrison felt hope stir in his chest. "What do you mean?" "We study the Zephyrians. While they are distracted by the architect ship," Ryan explained. "We learn their weaknesses. Then we use that knowledge to defeat them ourselves." Admiral Hayes approved the plan from his lunar command center. "Do it. All ships are to study Zephyrian technology and tactics, find their weaknesses. The human fleet spread out around the edge of the battle zone. From this distance, they could observe both fleets without being detected." The Zephyrians were still firing uselessly at the architect vessel, their attention completely focused on the mysterious ship. Dr. Helen Ross worked frantically in her laboratory, analyzing the energy. Signatures from destroyed Zephyrian vessels. "I think I found something," she reported after 2 hours of study. "Their shields are designed to deflect energy weapons, but they show instability when hit with rapidly changing electromagnetic pulses." Lieutenant Commander Alex Turner was studying the wreckage of destroyed defense platforms. "I have an idea about using orbital debris as weapons," he told Jake. "The Zephyrians have never faced kinetic attacks at relativistic speeds." On the surface, Emma Davis gathered her best soldiers for a planning session. "The Zephyrian ground forces are tough, but they follow predictable patterns. They have never fought an enemy that refuses to surrender." Meanwhile, Keeper Zara's voice reached out to specific humans who had asked for guidance. She spoke privately to Dr. Carter first. "Your species has a gift for seeing solutions that others miss. Trust in that gift." To Admiral Hayes, she said, "Leadership is not about being the strongest or the smartest. It is about helping others find their own strength." To Jake Morrison, she offered encouragement. "Courage is not the absence of fear. It is acting despite fear. Your species understands this better than most." The architect ship moved closer to the Zephyrian fleet, its presence causing panic among the alien invaders. Several smaller ships broke formation and fled toward the edge of the solar system. War leader Crox ordered them destroyed for cowardice, but his own confidence was shattered. "War leader," his science officer reported, "long-range sensors are detecting movement from the human fleet. They appear to be regrouping." Crox laughed bitterly. "Let them come. Even with their mysterious allies, they are no match for us." But, privately, he was not so certain. The humans had already surprised him with their refusal to surrender. Every other species he had conquered had offered to negotiate once their defenses were broken. The humans just kept fighting, even when victory seemed impossible. Captain Pete Johnson received new orders from Admiral Hayes. His small frigate was to lead a reconnaissance mission, gathering detailed information about Zephyrian ship designs and weapon systems. It was dangerous work, but Pete had volunteered immediately. "Remember," Admiral Hayes told all ship commanders, "we are not trying to match their firepower. We are looking for ways to use our advantages against their weaknesses." As the human fleet prepared for what might be their final battle, Keeper Zara's voice reached them one last time. "You have chosen the harder path, children of Earth. But it is also the path that leads to true freedom. We will watch with interest to see what you have learned." The architect ship took position between the two fleets, neither helping nor hindering either side. The stage was set for a battle that would determine humanity's future among the stars. Jake Morrison studied the battle plans on his screen while his crew prepared the UES Defiance for combat. The strategy they had developed was unlike anything in human military history. Instead of trying to match Zephyrian firepower, they would use speed, cunning, and desperate creativity. Lieutenant Commander Alex Turner finished his calculations and looked up from his engineering station. "Commander, the orbital debris plan is ready. We can use the gravity of Earth and the Moon to accelerate chunks of destroyed defense platforms to significant fractions of light speed." The idea was insane but brilliant. The wreckage from Earth's shattered orbital defenses would become weapons. Pieces of twisted metal and broken electronics would slam into Zephyrian ships with the force of nuclear bombs. Dr. Helen Ross had worked through the night to understand Zephyrian shield technology. Her discovery was spreading through the human fleet like wildfire. All ships, this is Dr. Ross. Modify your weapons to emit rapidly alternating electromagnetic pulses. The frequency should change every 0.3 seconds. This will destabilize their defensive fields. Engineer Ryan Foster coordinated the technical modifications from his position aboard the UES Valiant. He was only 25 years old, but his understanding of both human and alien technology was proving invaluable. The changes are simple, he explained to ship engineers across the fleet. We are basically turning our energy weapons into electronic noisemakers. Captain Steve Williams watched his crew work with amazing efficiency. Despite being exhausted and scared, every person on his ship performed their duties with precision. That is what I love about humans, he said to his first officer. When things get impossible, we get creative. On Earth's surface, Lieutenant Colonel Emma Davis had gathered intelligence about Zephyrian ground forces. The aliens were powerful and well-armed, but they fought according to rigid patterns. They expect us to form organized battle lines, she explained to her commanders. Instead, we will hit them from everywhere at once. Captain Pete Johnson led the first attack wave in his frigate UES Relentless. His job was to test Dr. Ross's theory about electromagnetic pulses. As he approached a Zephyrian destroyer, his heart pounded with nervous energy. Firing modified weapons, Pete announced to the fleet. His energy beams struck the alien ship's shields, and for a moment, nothing seemed different. Then the Zephyrian defensive field began to flicker and spark. "It works!" Pete shouted into his communicator. "Their shields are destabilizing." The Zephyrian ship fired back, but Pete was already moving. His small frigate danced around the much larger alien vessel, staying just ahead of their targeting systems. This was the second part of their strategy. Use superior human agility to confuse enemy computers. War leader Crocs received reports of the human attack with growing anger. "How are their primitive weapons affecting our shields?" he demanded. His science officer studied the readings with confusion. "War leader, they have modified their energy output to create interference patterns. Our defensive systems were not designed to handle this type of attack." More human ships joined the assault. They moved in seemingly random patterns, striking fast and then retreating before the Zephyrians could respond effectively. To alien eyes, it looked like chaos, but Jake Morrison knew it was carefully controlled madness. Swarm tactics, he called it. Attack from multiple directions, never stay in one place, and always keep the enemy guessing. Alex Turner launched the first salvo of orbital debris. Chunks of metal that had once been part of Luna Base went streaking across space at incredible speeds. The Zephyrians detected the incoming projectiles, but could not understand why humans were throwing garbage at them. They understood when the debris struck. Kinetic energy at relativistic speeds turned scraps of metal into devastating weapons. 3 Zephyrian ships were severely damaged in the first wave, their hulls punctured by impacts that their shields could not stop. Dr. Ben Carter watched the battle from Earth and felt amazement at what humans could accomplish when their backs were against the wall. "We are not stronger than the Zephyrians," he said to his research team. "We are not smarter, but we adapt faster than they can react." The turning point came when Captain Lisa Brooks's replacement, Commander Nancy Webb, led a desperate attack on the Zephyrian mothership. Her destroyer UES Courage was heavily damaged, but she had volunteered for what everyone knew was a suicide mission. "All power to forward shields," Nancy ordered her crew. "We are going to ram their command section." The UES Courage accelerated directly toward the massive alien vessel, absorbing tremendous damage as Zephyrian weapons tried to destroy it. At the last moment, Nancy activated her ship's self-destruct sequence and ejected the crew in escape pods. The Explosion when the destroyer struck, the mothership was visible from Earth. Nancy Webb and 12 crew members who had volunteered to stay behind were killed instantly, but their sacrifice created a massive breach in the alien ship's hull. "For Nancy," Jake Morrison said quietly, then opened fire on the damaged mothership with everything his ship had. Human forces pressed their advantage with ruthless efficiency. The Zephyrian fleet, which had seemed invincible just hours before, was being torn apart by opponents they had underestimated. Lieutenant Colonel Emma Davis led ground forces in a coordinated attack on Zephyrian landing sites. Her soldiers used guerrilla tactics, striking from hidden positions and then disappearing before the aliens could respond. "Hit and run," she told her troops. "Make them afraid to leave their ships." Ryan Foster coordinated a brilliant electronic warfare campaign that jammed Zephyrian communications. Without their command network, individual alien ships began making mistakes and firing on each other in the confusion. War leader Crox felt his confidence crumble as reports of defeat flooded in from across his fleet. How had primitive humans turned the tide of battle so quickly? His tactical computer could not predict their next move, because their attacks seemed to follow no logical pattern. What the Zephyrian leader did not understand was that humans had learned to fight without logic. Desperation had made them willing to try anything, and their creativity had found ways to turn weakness into strength. Captain Steve Williams delivered the final blow when he led 3 damaged ships in a coordinated attack on the alien command vessel. Using Alex Turner's debris weapon system and Dr. Ross's electromagnetic pulse technology, they overwhelmed the mothership's defenses and crippled its main engines. As the Zephyrian flagship began to drift helplessly in space, Jake Morrison opened a communication channel to war leader Crox. "This is Commander Morrison of the human fleet. Surrender now and your surviving ships will be allowed to leave our solar system." The words that every human had dreamed of saying were finally spoken. The alien invaders had been defeated. War leader Crox stood on the bridge of his damaged flagship, watching human ships surround his fleet. In 20 years of conquest, he had never been defeated. Now he faced something worse than death, the complete destruction of everything he believed about Zephyrian superiority. His tactical officer approached cautiously. "War leader, we have lost 60% of our fleet. The remaining ships are too damaged to continue fighting. What are your orders?" Crox looked out at the human vessels. They were small and primitive compared to his ships, but they had fought with a ferocity that his computers could not calculate. Every time his forces had adapted to one human tactic, the humans had invented something new. "Signal our surrender," he said finally. The words felt like poison in his mouth, but he was not a fool. Continuing to fight would only result in the complete destruction of his remaining forces. Jake Morrison received the surrender message and felt relief wash over him like a cool wave. Around him, his crew began to cheer, but the sound seemed to come from very far away. Too many friends had died in the past 4 days. Victory felt hollow when purchased with so much blood. The massive architect ship moved closer to both fleets. Keeper Zara's voice reached every human mind once again, and this time it carried warmth and approval. "Well done, children of Earth. You have proven yourselves worthy of membership in the Galactic Collective." Admiral Hayes watched from his lunar command center as the battle ended. He had commanded military forces for 30 years, but this victory was unlike any other. Humanity had not just defeated an enemy, they had passed a test that would determine their future among the stars. Dr. Ben Carter was already thinking about the implications. First contact with 2 alien species in 1 week would change human civilization forever. "We are not alone," he said to his research team, "and now we have a chance to learn from civilizations thousands of years older than us." The architect ship began transmitting detailed information to human computers. Star charts showing the locations of over 200 inhabited worlds, scientific databases containing knowledge that would advance human technology by centuries. Most importantly, the coordinates for the Galactic Collective's main council station. Captain Steve Williams read the incoming data with amazement. "Jake," he called over the communication system, "you need to see this. They are giving us the keys to the galaxy." But Keeper Zara had more to explain. Her telepathic voice continued with information that would reshape human understanding of their place in the universe. The Galactic Collective was formed over 10,000 years ago by species who chose cooperation over conquest. We have been waiting for humanity to develop the wisdom necessary for membership. Lieutenant Colonel Emma Davis had questions about the Zephyrians. What happens to them now? Do we execute them for war crimes? That choice is yours, Keeper Zara replied. But consider this. The Zephyrians were once like you, young, aggressive, convinced that strength was the only virtue. They chose the path of conquest and became what you see now. Perhaps they can learn a different way. War leader Crocs listened to this conversation with growing confusion. In Zephyrian culture, defeat meant death or slavery. The idea that his enemies might show mercy was completely foreign to him. Jake Morrison made a decision that would surprise everyone, including himself. War leader Crocs, your forces will be escorted to the edge of our solar system. You are free to leave, but you will never return. If we detect Zephyrian ships in this system again, we will destroy them without warning. The alien commander struggled to understand. You are not going to execute us? Killing you would make us no better than you, Jake replied. Go home. Think about what you learned here. Maybe your species can find a better way to live. Dr. Helen Ross was already studying the scientific information provided by the architects. This is incredible, she reported to Admiral Hayes. They have given us the basic principles of faster-than-light travel, energy shielding, and matter manipulation. We could build ships like theirs within 50 years. Engineer Ryan Foster was particularly excited about the propulsion technology. Admiral, with this knowledge, we could reach the nearest collective world in 6 months instead of 6,000 years. But the most important revelation was yet to come. Keeper Zara explained the true purpose of the test humanity had just passed. The galaxy is vast, and there are many species like the Zephyrians. Some conquer out of greed, others out of fear. The collective exists to protect developing civilizations from such threats. Captain Pete Johnson understood immediately. You want us to help defend other worlds like Earth? Eventually, yes, Keeper Zara confirmed. But first, you must grow and learn. Your species has great potential, but you are still young. The collective will guide your development, but the choices you make will always be your own. Admiral Hayes felt the weight of responsibility settle on his shoulders. Humanity was being invited to join something greater than themselves, but they would have to prove themselves worthy again and again. The architect's ship began preparing to depart. Before leaving, Keeper Zara offered one final piece of guidance. Remember what you learned in this battle? Your greatest strength is not your weapons or your technology. It is your refusal to surrender, your ability to adapt, and your willingness to sacrifice for others. These qualities are rare in the galaxy. As the mysterious vessel faded back into invisibility, Jake Morrison looked around at his surviving crew. They had started the week as defenders of a single world. Now they were representatives of humanity in a galactic community they had never imagined. The Zephyrian fleet limped toward the edge of the solar system, escorted by human ships. War leader Crocs spent the journey thinking about everything he had witnessed. Perhaps there was another way to live besides conquest and domination. On Earth, billions of people looked up at the stars and saw them differently than they had just days before. The universe was no longer empty and hostile. It was full of life, full of possibility, and humanity had earned their place in it. The battle for Earth was over, but humanity's greatest adventure was just beginning. 6 months after the battle for Earth, Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of humanity's first interstellar vessel. The ship was called the UES Explorer, and it combined human engineering with architect technology. It was beautiful and strange, with flowing lines that seemed to bend space around them. The crew was carefully chosen from survivors of the Zephyrian War. Jake commanded the ship, while Dr. Ben Carter served as Chief Science Officer. Engineer Ryan Foster had designed many of the new systems, and Captain Pete Johnson piloted the vessel with skills learned in combat. Their destination was Kepler Station, the main council facility of the Galactic Collective. It orbited a star, 47 light-years from Earth, a journey that would have taken thousands of years with old human technology. Now they could make the trip in just 6 months. Admiral Hayes had been appointed as Earth's first representative to the Galactic Council. He traveled with the Explorer, carrying messages from every nation on Earth. Humanity was ready to take their place among the stars. Dr. Helen Ross remained on Earth, but her work with architect science had already revolutionized human technology. New power systems provided clean energy for entire cities. Medical advances were eliminating diseases that had plagued humanity for millennia. The knowledge shared by the architects was transforming civilization. The journey to Kepler Station gave the crew time to study the information provided by the Galactic Collective. They learned about species that had evolved from plants instead of animals. They read about civilizations that existed as pure energy. Most amazing of all, they discovered that some species had voluntarily given up physical form to explore other dimensions. "The universe is stranger and more wonderful than we ever imagined," Dr. Carter said, as he studied reports about a species that communicated through changes in magnetic fields. "We thought finding life at all would be miraculous. Instead, we found an entire community of civilizations." Ryan Foster was fascinated by the technology descriptions. "Look at this," he told Jake, pointing to a display screen. "There is a species called the Builders who can construct planets from scratch. They take raw matter and shape it into worlds suitable for other species to inhabit." Captain Pete Johnson spent his time learning about navigation in a galaxy full of active civilizations. "There are shipping lanes between star systems," he explained to his crew. "Trade routes that have been used for thousands of years. We are joining something that has existed since before humans learned to make fire." As they traveled through space, the crew received regular updates from Earth. The planet was changing rapidly as new technologies were implemented. Cities were being rebuilt with materials that could repair themselves. Farms used architect techniques to grow food with perfect efficiency. But the most significant changes were happening in human society itself. The knowledge that they were part of a galactic community was transforming how people thought about their differences. Wars between nations seemed pointless when humanity faced challenges that spanned star systems. Lieutenant Colonel Emma Davis had been promoted to general and now commanded Earth's new planetary defense force. The lessons learned fighting the Zephyrians were being used to train soldiers who might one day defend other worlds from similar threats. "We are not just protecting Earth anymore," she explained to her new recruits. "We are becoming guardians of civilization itself." The crew of the Explorer also learned about the darker sides of galactic history. The Collective had faced threats more dangerous than the Zephyrians. Some species sought to consume other civilizations entirely. Others tried to impose their beliefs on every world they encountered. "Freedom is not free," Admiral Hayes said during one of their briefings. "Even in a galaxy full of peaceful species, there are always those who choose a different path." Keeper Zara visited the Explorer several times during their journey, appearing in her ship without warning. Each time, she shared more knowledge about the challenges humanity would face as members of the Collective. "Your species has a gift for finding solutions that others overlook," she told them during one visit. "This will be valuable in the years ahead. The galaxy faces new threats that require new thinking." She also warned them about the responsibilities that came with membership. "The Collective is not a government that rules over its members. It is a community that depends on each species contributing their unique strengths. You will be expected to help others as you have been helped. Dr. Carter asked about the Zephyrians, who had departed Earth's solar system after their defeat. Have you heard from them since they left? War Leader Crox has been in communication with collective representatives, Keeper Zara replied. His defeat at human hands has caused significant changes in Zephyrian society. Some of his people are questioning their military culture for the first time in centuries. This news gave the crew hope. If even the aggressive Zephyrians could change, perhaps the galaxy was becoming a more peaceful place. As they approached Kepler Station, the crew prepared for their first formal contact with the Galactic Collective. Jake Morrison practiced the speech he would give to the Council, knowing that his words would represent all of humanity. We come as students, he planned to say. We have much to learn, but we also have something to offer. Humanity brings determination, creativity, and hope to the community of civilized worlds. Ryan Foster made final adjustments to the ship's systems, ensuring that human technology would integrate properly with collective standards. We want to make a good first impression, he said. The Explorer dropped out of faster-than-light travel, at the edge of the Kepler system. Ahead of them lay a sight that took their breath away, a space station the size of a small moon, surrounded by ships from dozens of different species. Captain Pete Johnson guided their vessel toward the docking bays, following navigation instructions provided by the station's traffic control system. As they approached, they could see beings moving about inside the transparent sections of the station. "Welcome to Kepler Station," came a message in perfect English. "We have been expecting you." Jake Morrison looked around at his crew and smiled. They had traveled farther from Earth than any human in history. Now they were about to meet representatives from across the galaxy. The next chapter of human history was about to begin. Kepler Station was unlike anything the human crew had imagined. The docking bay alone was larger than most cities on Earth, filled with ships of impossible variety. Some vessels looked like living creatures with wings and tentacles. Others appeared to be made of pure crystal that glowed with inner light. Jake Morrison led his crew through the station's corridors, accompanied by their guide, a being called Ambassador Trill. Trill belonged to a species that looked like walking trees, with bark-like skin and leaves that changed color based on emotion. Currently, Trill's leaves were bright green, which meant curiosity and welcome. Kepler Station houses representatives from 197 member species, Trill explained in a voice that sounded like wind through branches. You will be the 198th. Dr. Ben Carter stared in wonder at the beings they passed in the corridors. A group of floating jellyfish-like creatures communicated through patterns of colored lights. Nearby, metal beings that looked like robots but moved with organic grace discussed mathematical equations that appeared as holographic symbols in the air. "How do you all communicate?" Admiral Hayes asked. "We have seen dozens of different species just walking to this meeting." The collective developed universal translation technology thousands of years ago, Trill replied. "Your thoughts are converted into concepts that any species can understand, regardless of their method of communication." They entered a vast chamber that served as the main council hall. The ceiling was transparent, showing the stars beyond, while the floor contained hundreds of different environments designed for various species' needs. Some delegates sat in pools of water, others hung from the ceiling, and a few existed as balls of energy that floated freely through the space. At the center of the chamber stood a raised platform where 5 beings waited to greet the human delegation. These were the council elders, representatives of the oldest species in the collective. Elder Voss was the first to speak. Her species had evolved from ocean creatures, and she breathed through gills that fluttered as she talked. "Welcome, humans of Earth. We have heard remarkable things about your recent trials." Elder Chen looked like a giant praying mantis made of living metal. His voice resonated with harmonic frequencies that somehow conveyed deep wisdom. Your victory over the Zephyrians has been studied by military strategists across the galaxy. You defeated a superior force through innovation and courage. The third elder introduced himself as Korith. His species had no fixed form, appearing as a shifting cloud of particles that occasionally took humanoid shape. We are particularly interested in your problem-solving methods. You found solutions that our computers had calculated as impossible. Elder Nara belonged to a species that resembled living plants, similar to Ambassador Trill, but much older and larger. Your willingness to show mercy to defeated enemies demonstrates the wisdom we value in collective members. The final elder was the most surprising. She looked almost human, with only slight differences in facial features and skin tone. "I am Elder Sarah," she said with a smile. "My species, the Terrans, evolved on a world very similar to Earth. We joined the collective 12,000 years ago." Jake Morrison stepped forward to represent humanity. "Elders, we are honored by this welcome. Earth's people are eager to learn from the wisdom of the collective and to contribute what we can to the common good." Elder Voss gestured to viewing screens that showed images from across the galaxy. The collective faces new challenges that require fresh perspectives. The Devourer fleets have become more aggressive in the outer systems. The machine cult continues to convert entire planets into their mechanical paradise. Most concerning, we have detected signals from beyond our galaxy that suggest other intelligences are taking interest in our affairs. Dr. Carter felt both excitement and concern. How can humanity help with such vast problems? We have barely begun to explore our own star system. Elder Chen's metallic form seemed to pulse with approval. Every species asks this question when they join us. The answer is always the same. You help by being yourselves. Humanity brings unique gifts to our community. Elder Korith shifted into a more definite humanoid shape. Your recent battle demonstrated several abilities that are rare among collective species. You adapt quickly to new situations. You find creative solutions under pressure. Most importantly, you refuse to surrender even when facing impossible odds. Admiral Hayes understood the implications. You want us to serve as military advisors and combatants. Eventually, perhaps, Elder Nara replied. But first, you must grow and learn. Your technology needs advancement. Your people need time to adjust to galactic citizenship. We estimate 50 Earth years before humanity is ready for major responsibilities. Elder Sarah leaned forward with interest. Tell us about your plans for expansion. How does Earth intend to spread among the stars? Jake Morrison had prepared for this question. We plan to establish colonies on worlds suitable for human life, but only on planets that are uninhabited. We have no desire to displace other species. A wise policy, Elder Voss acknowledged. We will provide you with star charts showing suitable systems. There are thousands of worlds where human life could flourish. Ryan Foster raised his hand hesitantly. Elders, what about the Zephyrians? Are they likely to attack other worlds like they attacked Earth? Elder Chen's form dimmed slightly. War leader Crocs has been in communication with us since his defeat. His species is reconsidering their approach to galactic relations. However, change comes slowly to military cultures. We estimate it will take several generations for the Zephyrians to fully embrace peaceful coexistence. The meeting continued for several hours as the elders explained the structure and purpose of the Galactic Collective. They learned about trade networks that spanned thousands of light years, joint scientific projects that tackled fundamental questions about the universe, and cultural exchange programs that had been running for millennia. Captain Pete Johnson was fascinated by the navigation systems used for galactic travel. How do you coordinate the movement of millions of ships across such vast distances? Very carefully, Elder Korith replied with what might have been humor. We have developed traffic control systems that can predict ship movements years in advance. Space is large, but popular trade routes can become crowded. As the formal session ended, Ambassador Trill offered to show the humans around more of the station. They visited laboratories where species worked together on projects that combined dozens of different scientific approaches. They saw cultural centers where beings from across the galaxy shared art, music, and literature. Most impressive was the Intelligence Center, where analysts tracked threats to collective security. Here, humans saw their first evidence of the darker forces in the galaxy. Images showed planets stripped bare by the devourer fleets, worlds converted into mechanical landscapes by the machine cult, and mysterious signals from distant galaxies. The universe is vast and full of wonders, Trill explained as they walked through displays showing galactic history. But it is also dangerous. The collective exists because civilized beings must stand together against forces that would destroy everything we have built. Jake Morrison felt the weight of responsibility settling on his shoulders. Humanity had won the right to join this galactic community, but they had also accepted the obligation to help defend it. As their tour concluded, Elder Sarah approached the human delegation privately. "There is something I want you to know," she said. "Your species is not the first to face the kind of test you recently passed. Every member of the collective has struggled against forces that threatened their existence. What makes humanity special is not that you survived, but how you chose to survive." Admiral Hayes nodded thoughtfully. "We have much to live up to." "Yes," Elder Sarah agreed. "But we believe you will succeed. Welcome to the Galactic Collective, Humans of Earth." 2 years had passed since the UES Explorer first docked at Kepler Station. Now, Jake Morrison commanded a small fleet of human vessels that served as the Earth Diplomatic Corps. The ships were hybrids of human and collective technology, faster and more capable than anything humanity had possessed before the war. The crew had changed as well. Dr. Ben Carter now served as Earth's chief xenobiologist, having established research partnerships with 17 different species. His work on cross-species medical treatments had already saved thousands of lives across the galaxy. Engineer Ryan Foster had become humanity's leading expert on collective technology integration. His designs were being used on ships throughout human space, and several alien species had requested his consultation on their own engineering projects. Captain Pete Johnson commanded the UES Pathfinder, leading exploration missions to map suitable worlds for human colonization. In 2 years, his teams had identified 43 planets where human settlements could thrive. Admiral Hayes split his time between Earth and Kepler Station, serving as humanity's voice in collective decisions. His military experience and diplomatic skills had earned respect among species that had initially questioned whether humans were ready for galactic citizenship. The most significant changes were happening on Earth itself. Cities had been rebuilt using collective architectural principles that allowed millions of people to live in harmony with their environment. Transportation systems based on gravitic manipulation made travel between continents as easy as walking. Across a room, Lieutenant Colonel Emma Davis, now General Davis, commanded the Earth Defense Corps. Her forces included both human soldiers and volunteers from other collective species who had come to Earth to learn human tactical methods. The combination of human creativity and alien technology had produced military units unlike anything the galaxy had seen. But the greatest transformation was in how humans saw themselves and their place in the universe. Children grew up learning about dozens of alien cultures alongside their own history. Scientists collaborated with researchers whose species had evolved from fundamentally different life forms. Artists created works that incorporated sensory experiences from across the spectrum of galactic consciousness. Jake Morrison stood on the observation deck of his flagship, the UES Harmony, watching Earth rotate slowly below. The planet looked different now, with orbital habitats and space elevators creating a ring of human activity around the world, but it was still home, still the blue marble that had given birth to humanity's dreams of reaching the stars. "Commander," his communications. "Officer called, we are receiving a priority message from Kepler Station." The image of Elder Voss appeared on the main screen. Her gills fluttered with what Jake had learned was excitement mixed with concern. "Commander Morrison, we need human assistance with an urgent situation. A species called the Keth has requested collective protection from Devourer scouts in their system." Jake felt his pulse quicken. This would be humanity's first major test as collective members. "What is the tactical situation, Elder?" 3 Devourer ships have entered the Keith system. They appear to be conducting reconnaissance for a larger invasion force. The Keth have no military capability beyond basic planetary defense. Our nearest military assets are 6 weeks away. "How far are we from the Keth system?" Jake asked his navigation officer. 47 hours at maximum speed, sir." Elder Voss continued her briefing. "The Keth are a peaceful species that has contributed significantly to collective scientific research. They have developed techniques for healing that work across multiple biological types. Losing their world would be a tragedy for the entire galaxy." Jake made his decision quickly. "We will depart immediately, Elder. What support can we expect?" "The exploration vessel UES Pathfinder is already en route. Captain Johnson should arrive in the system approximately 6 hours after you do. Beyond that, you will be operating independently until reinforcements arrive." After the communication ended, Jake called his senior staff together for a planning session. The situation was challenging, but not impossible. 3 Devourer ships against 2 human vessels with collective technology upgrades. "What do we know about Devourer tactics?" Jake asked Dr. Carter. "They prefer to strip a world's resources systematically," Carter replied, reading from his database. "They start by eliminating any military resistance, then begin harvesting the planet's biological and mineral wealth. Their ships are heavily armored but not particularly maneuverable." Ryan Foster studied the technical specifications. "Their weakness appears to be their reliance on automated systems. They have powerful computers, but they do not adapt well to unexpected situations." The journey to the Keth system gave the crew time to prepare for their first combat mission as collective members. Jake felt the weight of responsibility more heavily than during the battle for Earth. This time, they were not fighting for their own survival, but for the survival of another species. When they arrived in the Keth system, the situation was worse than expected. The 3 Devourer ships had positioned themselves around the inhabited planet and begun deploying harvesting equipment. Streams of matter were already being lifted from the surface and processed in their mechanical vessels. "Keth Planetary Defense is reporting heavy casualties," the communications officer announced. "Their ground installations are being systematically destroyed." Jake studied the tactical display and formulated a plan that combined human unpredictability with collective technology. "We are going to use the same tactics that worked against the Zephyrians. Hit fast, hit hard, and keep them guessing." The White UES Harmony accelerated toward the nearest Devourer ship, its weapon systems charging with energies that would have been impossible just 3 years earlier. As they approached, Jake opened a communication channel to the alien vessels. "Devourer. Ships, this is Commander Morrison of the Galactic Collective Defense Corps. You are in violation of collective space. Withdraw immediately or face the consequences." The response came as weapons fire rather than words. Massive energy beams lanced out from the Devourer vessels, but Jake had expected this. The Harmony danced between the attacks, its human pilot, using intuition and experience that no computer could replicate. "Return fire," Jake ordered. "Target their harvesting equipment first." The battle that followed demonstrated how much humanity had learned since the Zephyrian War. They used collective shield technology to absorb damage that would have destroyed their old ships. They employed weapons that could disrupt the molecular bonds holding Devourer hulls together. Most importantly, they fought with the knowledge that they were part of something larger than themselves. When Captain Johnson arrived in the Pathfinder, the two human ships coordinated their attacks with precision that impressed even their collective allies. The Devourer ships, designed to overwhelm primitive defenders, found themselves facing opponents who combined advanced technology with tactical creativity they could not predict. Within 4 hours, 2 of the alien vessels had been destroyed, and the third was retreating toward the edge of the system. "This is the Keth Planetary Council," came a transmission from the surface. "We thank the humans and the collective for saving our world. How can we repay this debt?" Jake Morrison smiled as he looked at his crew. They had traveled from a single world threatened with extinction to become defenders of galactic civilization. "No debt is necessary," he replied. "We are all part of the same community now." As news of the successful mission spread through collective space, humanity's reputation grew. They were no longer the newest members learning from their elders. They had become valued contributors to galactic security. Elder Sarah sent a message to Jake that would be remembered in human history books. "The collective chose well when we accepted humanity as members. You have proven that courage and wisdom are not limited by age or experience. The galaxy is safer because humans walk among the stars. On Earth, General Davis received reports of the victory and began planning expanded training programs for human forces. The universe was vast and full of challenges, but humanity would be ready." Dr. Carter established a research station in the Keth system, beginning the first of many collaborative projects that would advance both species' understanding of the universe. Ryan Foster designed new ship classes that incorporated lessons learned from the Devourer encounter, vessels that would serve as the foundation for humanity's expanding role in galactic affairs. Jake Morrison looked out at the stars and saw them not as distant points of light, but as destinations waiting to be explored. Humanity had found its place among the civilizations of the galaxy, and the future was brighter than anyone had dared to dream.